Today's episode is brought to you by Positively Productive Systems, whose mission is to be the antidote to your stress and to provide compassionate productivity resources and coaching that help you heal and achieve. Be sure to check out both free and paid resources at positivelyproductive.com/resources.
So there's a lot of tells or a lot of signs that become very evident as you try to move on with your business. So I kind of narrowed it down to the top 3 signs, and they're clear giveaways. And so I'm going to kind of list them for you here. But as I mentioned in the beginning, it's that overall feeling that when you reach a certain point in your business and you're trying to get to that next level, but somehow you feel stuck. You feel like you simply can't hop onto that new platform and there's something holding you back.
You're listening to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping clients make space for what matters most in their lives. Join me each episode and we'll talk about decluttering, stress management, habits, personalized productivity, gratitude, and so much more. I understand the overwhelm of life because I'm a wife, mom to kids and cats, and a former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. What was one of the first things you did when you started your business? At the risk of dating myself, I was taught to get business cards. That was a long time ago, mind you, and while I no longer do that, there is still a habit of thinking I need a logo as like one of the first steps, and I can't be the only one, right? Branding, which is the visual side of your business, is only one small part of what you need to properly market it. And today's guest helps us highlight those other elements. We talk today about the signs you need a rebrand, and they may happen because you didn't take the full steps to start, or because you're growing and scaling and pivoting. Either way, her tips are going to get you thinking and inspire you to create a strong foundation for sharing what you do with the world. Today, I welcome Maria Platusic to the Positively Living podcast. Maria is a seasoned branding and website designer and brand strategist and the owner of Platusic Design Creative Studio. She helps high-achieving business owners looking to rebrand, combat branding, and website overwhelm. She has been in the design industry for over 20 years. Her goal is to empower as many small business owners as possible with a solid brand foundation via an intentional brand strategy and a gorgeous brand that will support their business for many years to come. I'll admit, when I think of branding, my mind jumps to color templates on Instagram. But there are so many steps in between, and Maria and I cover them, including what a brand foundation truly is and does, and the top 3 signs you need a rebrand. I've been through them all, by the way. We discuss the distinction between visuals and messaging and how they need to work together. Maria also highlights how critical our knowledge of our ideal client is, which should sound familiar to you, and to what level we need to know the details. Good news, it's not as much as you think. We cover what to do once you realize the rebrand is necessary and how you can definitely make progress without reinventing the wheel. The idea of rebranding may sound intimidating, but Maria helps us see that it can actually be invigorating and empowering. Join us as Maria shows you what to watch for and the simple steps you can take if you feel it's time to rebrand. Welcome, Maria Platusic, to the Positively Living podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here. We have been playing on Instagram for a while now and have found that we have so much in common in the way that we approach things and that we work with our clients. So I'm excited to talk branding with you today.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me, Lisa. I'm excited to be here as well.
So let's start with you telling us a bit about who you are and who you help and really what makes you light up.
Awesome. Thank you. So I am a branding designer, brand strategist, and WordPress magic maker. I've been at this game for about 20 plus years now, so I'm aging myself for everyone. For me, what I've realized through time is that I have a passion for helping the underdogs and for helping the small businesses and developing the same caliber of brands that I used to create for, Fortune 500 companies to now providing that same expertise to small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, and really making sure that we're building up their brand foundation. And it's one of those things that I know a lot of people start off quickly with, but realize that they need to kind of go back to and revisit because it's something they need to pay attention to, and they realize the greater importance of a brand foundation. So that's essentially what I do. I'm a mom of 3 as well. They're currently all home on summer break. And here we are.
So this is a great break for you.
Yes.
I love it. Well, I can tell that this lights you up whenever we talk about what it is that you do and even in how you post about it. So let's start at the beginning with this idea of branding, because something that you even mentioned in your description of how we kind of jump in quickly to it. My first thought was we start a business and we're like, get a logo, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like beyond the logo. Where are we supposed to start? What exactly is branding? Let's help us understand this foundational approach and why it matters.
Absolutely. No, and that's a great question. And that's something that, we get asked a lot. And, the one thing I am going to mention here is that, of course, as a brand new business owner and you're just starting out, from a perfectionist and a branding designer, I'm going to tell you to just begin and to definitely get something out there, start with something really clean and simple. And just begin, because you need to start making money and getting clients and doing all of those things. So absolutely just begin, and don't be, paralyzed by the thoughts of everything.
Yes.
But there comes a certain point in time where you realize that, okay, I'm doing this, but I can't get to that next step or that next level. This is where we actually kind of go backwards a little bit and take a look at the brand foundation and what that actually entails. So it's really honing in on your target audience and really learning who they are, checking out the competition and collaborating and being inspired by them, really nailing your brand messaging. So like, what are you the expert at and why should people come to you? And also the positioning, like how you want to be positioned in the marketplace. So it's really fine-tuning these items along with knowing what your future goals are. So when you can sit there and think of, okay, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now, if you can think that far, what is it that I want to accomplish with this business and this brand? And what are the strategic, methods I should use to help me achieve and get and reach those goals? So the brand foundation is, in essence, all of those gears and cogs turning together in unison to create the brand that everyone sees. The branding, which are the visuals, are those aspects that are there to basically grab the attention and grab the right eyes and the right audience to continue to look at your work. So those are kind of the distinctions. But your brand is essentially what you create and the feelings you evoke and everything you've built up until this point. So those are kind of some of the foundational pieces there.
Yeah, I loved when you started to describe, and I'm like, do you notice when she's talking about brand foundation, not once in there it was like this kind of logo or this color palette, you know what I mean? It's like the word foundation is right there, right? It's that underlying structure that's going to create. And I guess it's going to help you. Once again, I talk about filters all the time, right? And I'm going to talk about them again, is you create a filter for making those choices then based on all of those things that you have developed here, competition, audience, the brand messaging, the position, all of that, what you want to create, what you want to evoke with this business, then you can start thinking, okay, well then maybe these are the colors then, or how do you, pull all that together? I love that you did reassure, okay, if you're listening and you're like, I did not do that. Guess what? Hi, raising my hand. I didn't necessarily do that. I mean, I maybe did a little bit of it, but this is an opportunity, if you haven't, to step back and do it. And if you are relatively new or you're starting a new business in this, but you have, the business background already and you're like starting a new one, this is an opportunity to start fresh with a stronger foundation, right?
Absolutely, yes. So, not to say that I haven't worked with brand new businesses that are launching, but these are businesses that already have some data. They've done their research, they've done their homework, and we can definitely pull from those foundational items and create a gorgeous brand from it. But you're right, you nailed that perfectly. I don't just start designing anything until the foundation of your brand strategy is created first, because I don't know what it should look like until I have the details and the data, right? So that's kind of the process I use.
So wherever you're coming from, that you've pulled together some form of brand foundation, strategy, branding, the actual visuals, whatever they happen to be, whether it was kind of a, cobbing together or, something more structured. What's next in terms of where you are in your business and what you're seeing for this idea of, okay, it's time to rebrand, it's time to freshen, it's time to step back and take a look. What's happening there?
So there's a lot of tells or a lot of signs that become very evident as you try to move on with your business. So I kind of narrowed it down to the top 3 signs, and they're clear giveaways. And so I'm going to kind of list them for you here. But as I mentioned in the beginning, it's that overall feeling that when you reach a certain point in your business and you're trying to get to that next level, but somehow you feel stuck. You feel like you simply can't hop onto that new platform and there's something holding you back. That's one of the main feelings a lot of my branding clients experience. But here are the 3 common indicators that you're ready for a rebrand, and I'm going to share them with you now. So the first item, and this one is a lot that my clients are kind of embarrassed to share, but they are hesitant to showcase their brand. So instead of saying, oh yeah, go visit my website or go visit my social media platforms, you're kind of hesitant to share those items with potential clients because they feel that their brand either visually is unprofessional or appears dated, or it simply doesn't light them up anymore. And that's a common theme I've noticed. So that's the first sign right there.
Oh my gosh. And boy, does that sound familiar. And I've had varying degrees. I mean, I'm delighted to say that right now I'm happy for you to, jump over to my website and see what's going on with me. But there have definitely been times, and it reminds me of like when you don't want to invite people over to your house because it's a mess.
Brilliant. Exactly.
Anyone? Okay. Right. It's that feeling. So yeah, it's that feeling in your business when you don't want to invite anyone over. The problem with that is that if you don't invite anyone over, where's your business going to come from?
Exactly. And the other thing it does too is it doesn't allow you to be all in. You're holding something back and you're not putting your best foot forward. So you're not really showing up to your audience 100%, right? You're holding something back, and that's a big tell. And that becomes a big hindrance as well for you as a business owner.
Oh my gosh, yes. When you hold back in any relationship, and remember our business, right? It's all about relationships. If you hold back, you limit the potential of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll let you know the second item right now. This is a common one too, and it continues to happen. And it's hard for people to figure this one out. And that is that you are not attracting your ideal target audience, your ICA, your ideal client avatar. You need to ensure all is in alignment to attract the right people, but you're finding it hard to isolate and rectify this ongoing problem. So like when you create a post or list, a product for sale, the wrong people are paying attention. And that actually happens for a reason, because there's a misalignment via either the visuals you're putting out there or the messaging that you're using along with those visuals. For example, if you're a florist who originally worked with, budget brides and couples, and you want to now be serving like high-end luxury corporate events, if your messaging and visuals do not reflect that at all, that's a big tell that you're going to be stuck with that target audience that you currently have, and it's very hard to get to that next level, right? So you're trying to take your current branding efforts and bring them up to that higher luxury level, but your branding cannot support you at that level. So it's when you kind of outgrown your brand, for example, that's pretty much what that feels like, essentially.
Interesting. So there's a distinction between, like you said, the visuals and the messaging, and sometimes it can be one or the other. And I don't know, how much we could dig into that. I am kind of curious if there's a way to distinguish between which might be the cause.
the visuals play an important role because they are used to basically stop and grab the attention. So if it appears to be, a homey type style brand and fonts and colors and whatnot, and then the visual eye of the person looking at it is attracted to that, then they'll think, oh, this is like, someone who's doing a side business or, smaller, tiny shop that I can try to get my budget florals from or my budget items from. But when you have an elevated brand that has the feeling, like you can just look at an elevated brand and see, okay, that font is more luxurious. The colors they're using are higher end. The imagery you're portraying via the visuals and the photographs you share feel very rich and, luxury type style. That will definitely dictate what you're going to be attracting. And then pairing that properly with the visuals. So if there's a misalignment with you're trying to use the words for luxury end, but the visuals don't align up, or you have the high-end luxury branding now created, but now the messaging you're using isn't in alignment with those visuals because you're using your old copy or content and it's not resonating. You're not using the language that your ICA wants to hear.
Right. Okay. So it's got to match. That makes a lot of sense. So this idea of having your visuals and your messaging not only be connected to your ideal audience, but that they pair up properly. That's important. And something else was just coming to me with this is this idea that maybe too, there could be this, I guess, an idea that if it's been going on for a while, if you've had the certain branding for a while and you become known for this, then people are going to expect that. So maybe changing things up would be necessary.
That's a valid point. Absolutely. And that's kind of essentially where people tend to come to me. It's because they need this rebirth of their business because everyone that they've worked in the past has been relating or associating them with this particular, item. And now when they rebrand, they can now step into that new positioning, that new messaging, that new brand. And that really entices the new audience that they're trying to achieve. And I know sometimes they could be hesitant because they feel, fear of missing out, FOMO of audience and fear of missing out on clients and paying clients, right? But what happens is when you kind of niche down and you basically peg yourself as the expert in this luxury high-end area, the right audience starts to pay attention. And that's essentially what you want to happen. Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. So number one was the hesitant to showcase, to let people in, right? Number two was you're finding yourself not attracting your ideal audience. Yes. And what's number three?
So number three is a little bit of a parallel, but it's more so in regards to if the product or service that you were originally selling has changed over the years. So if your product or service has pivoted and you don't offer the same services from when you first opened shop. For example, you offered one-to-one coaching, but now you only offer group coaching and masterminds. The messaging and visuals and overall brand will not reflect that pivot or change. And it can definitely cause an issue for your business if you don't take care of it. The good news is when you're pivoting, that is the optimal time to rebrand, the optimal time, because now you can really step into that new position of where you want your brand to be.
And that's definitely an obvious one. So as soon as you are posting a friend's gift with them carrying the couch on the stairs and yelling pivot, as soon as you are like, I'm doing something completely different, immediately track that to brand foundation and branding and start thinking in those terms. I love that. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And as you said, this is like the top three, and there are many other ones.
Yes.
I'm sure. And one of them that comes to my mind in all of this, and I guess maybe just inspires me as you're talking about these, is this idea that just like when you buy a new outfit, sometimes it helps you show up differently too, right?
Absolutely. Yes. It's funny. People come to me for cohesiveness. They want the new visuals. They want the consistency that a new brand brings. But the main thing that they all leave with is confidence. This is like the number one transformation, which is indirectly not what they came for, but what they absolutely leave with. So what the new brand does, it allows them to play at the level they want to play at right now. So if you're envisioning 2 to 5 years, to be at a higher level, I already create a brand and situate you at that level right now because you will be growing into it and you can already claim that status, that expert status. So absolutely, it definitely assists with the confidence boost.
Ooh, all right, I'll take the metaphor even further because I can't help myself. So it's like dressing for the job you want.
Yes, absolutely. You're definitely showing up in the right outfit for the right job.
I love that. Okay, so now that we have the three biggest, I say, or tells or signs that you're like, okay, I got to start thinking about this. What's next? What do we do? Are there levels of sort of considering this and rebranding and things? What happens?
So, that's a great question. And for me, it's if you are experiencing these signs, you should definitely reconsider a rebrand or at least revisit what you've done and pay attention to it. Because yes, you can continue on the current path and still get customers and still make money. But I call this kind of like business purgatory. Like you just get stuck in this. It's okay. It's not the best. I'm making money. Awesome. And just continue, right? But there are ideal clients and customers that really want your service, that you want to serve. Are they really those ICAs? And are your big picture goals being met for your business? So when you think of your future goals and you want to be a TEDx speaker or an author, is this going to help you reach those goals? So like it's really putting things in perspective. So always take a look at your big picture goals and make sure that it's in alignment to hit those goals. I think that would be the first kind of test to give yourself for that.
Yeah, and so now you're driving what you're going to be doing based on your why and your ultimate goals and the idea of whether or not where you are in terms of your brand foundation, your branding, if it's supporting not only where you want to be, but where you're planning to be, where you're dreaming to be. So yeah, I guess there's multiple levels of that. Now, in terms of this idea of rebranding, one of my favorite things, and depending upon your budget, in terms of your financial budget, your time budget, all the things. And I love how you are always cognizant of that. And so it's a real sliding scale. When we talk about rebranding, it's not an all or nothing, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be reinventing the wheel entirely. What are sort of the levels that you've noticed?
So for me, I never believe in burning everything and starting from ground zero because that's a terrible method. Even though many clients are like, just set it ablaze and let's start.
Viking funeral.
So it's one of those things where it's like, no, you absolutely do not have to reinvent the wheel here. The beauty of it is if you've been in business for a while now, like a couple of years, you have some amazing data that you could bring to the table. So you can really paint the picture of, I really enjoy doing these types of tasks, but I absolutely hate and detest these ones. I really love working with these types of clients because they light me up and it excites me. And this is why I will wake up. So let's target those clients and get you the right clients. So creating a strategic plan to ensure we're hitting that ideal audience and creating a plan that you're going to be focusing on the tasks that you love doing and you want to be the expert at. It's basically extracting what your superpowers are and bringing them to the forefront for everyone to see. And that's what your rebrand should do and really help position you in that way. Absolutely.
I really like that, extracting your superpowers. And where we're coming from with this, and it's something that I do talk about a lot, is focusing on the good, shall we say. It's like that the gratitude, the abundance, but it's that place where you're the happiest, where you do light up, where you are shining the best. And that's actually a really fun thing to do. When we think about stuff like rebranding, or like I'm refinishing the floors and you're like, that sounds horrible. But in this case, it's more of, hey, you do want to grow and flourish. What are you doing that is absolutely like awesome? Like you just really, really love enough to sing the word. When you get to focus on that, that's actually a fun thing. And one of the things I've loved doing is going back to certain specific clients where I'm like, that was just fantastic. And, digging in and saying, what was it about that person, that scenario, the scope of the project, everything that I was doing with them that I just loved so much? And how can I replicate that?
Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. You are saying exactly what, I dive deeper into with my clients. When it comes to ICAs, I know people get hung up and they start saying, okay, they drive a Cadillac and they have 2.3 kids and they live in X house. And I've even got color of nail polish. And I'm like, hey, you're not Pepsi or Coke. You don't need the nail polish, right? Here, let's be realistic. But what you do need to know is what they're struggling with most. What are their pain points? What is holding them back? And how can you help them? How will you help them? What makes you different, your process different than every other person who's out there offering the same service? What makes you unique and different? And how can we showcase how amazing you are at doing that for them? Rebranding, when you think of it, a lot of people are like, it feels overwhelming, it feels daunting. And I'm just here to tell you that it can actually be quite the opposite. It can be invigorating and empowering in one. And that's the script that I want to flip for you, because that's essentially what it should be.
Yes. Yes. All the yeses. Did I mention yes? Yes. Invigorating and empowering. That is the idea, and very doable. Because like you said, when you start thinking about this idea of rebranding, it's not just, oh my gosh, am I changing the color of my logo? And do I have to post things everywhere? And do I have to update my website? Like, what's happening there? It's really starting with that foundation of, you have all this data. Dig in and figure out where you are and where you want to be going, and use what you already know, what you have there right in front of you. That is, well, it's invigorating for me because I like data, but it's definitely empowering in that you have the raw material right there.
And I know that's the part that can feel, because you love data, but some people don't. So that's where having the right guide to know exactly, because you can present 25 things to me and I will need to go in and pinpoint the top 3. And I will say, this is what we're going to focus on, and here's why. So I need you to present all the data, and any proper brand designer should be doing this. Get all the data that you have, and then extracting the best parts and creating focus and clarity. And then what that actually does, it just creates the simplified approach, because when you're creating your brand positioning and your brand and the overall essence of what it is, you need it to be so super simple and clear for your audience to understand what it is that you're capable of and how you're going to help them. So it needs to be very, fine-tuned and clarified. Like, that's what it has to be. Absolutely.
And then that makes it easier for you too. It makes it easier on everyone, because you know exactly what you're saying and to whom, and the look of how you're saying it.
Yes.
and presenting to them. And you don't have to constantly be thinking about it and creating something new, because it's there for you, ready to go. Keep the messaging going. Boy, do I like that idea. So that segues beautifully into a little, that's easy for me to say, into a little bonus round where I would say it's almost like tying back to the very beginning of what you said, is that it's not that you're just starting out because you are at a new level, but you're thinking about repositioning yourself, and you're still, at the cusp of doing this. But there's probably a step or two that you could take right now to sort of clean things up and wipe away the cobwebs a bit and present a clean foundation while you're figuring out more of what we talked about. What would you say?
I like to give, when I share all of my stuff, my content on my social media and whatnot, I share the actual questions that I ask my branding clients. And it's actually trying to help them dive a bit deeper, because I like to prepare them so they have the answers at hand, and that they can do that, deeper level thinking for themselves, so that it actually makes my job easier when they come to me. So really honing in on, like what you touched upon, that ideal client that you want to work with, the client that lights you up, the client that will actually make you get out of bed to work with, and honing in on who they are, what their problems are, and how you can solve them, really figuring that out, taking a look at your competition. And I know that people get, they feel imposter syndrome or things like that when it comes to competition. But I also want to flip the script on that and say, the best collaborations can happen with your very own competition. And you can learn so much. There's such a valuable resource and tool that It helps you avoid the things that you don't have to, repeat, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You can already see what's working for them and what's not working for them and be inspired by them. By no means do I mean copycat, but I definitely mean be inspired by them. So definitely take a look at your competition and then think of this one. So when you are thinking of your positioning, when should someone drop your name down on an in search of post, and why? Why would they put your name down? To really simplify what they're going to call you out for. So that really helps you fine tune of what you are the expert at. So that helps you as well. And then nail down your future goals. Really sit there and have a think of, okay, this is my copywriting business. What do I want to do with this business? Where do I want to take it? Or this is my coaching business. Where do I want to end up 2, 5, even 10 years from now? And really plot those goals down, because those are going to be the guide for everything you do. So like moving left, right, you're going to stay on path to hit those goals. So that's what I would start with for sure.
Love that. Okay. And that's a great starting point because it's very doable. It helps you get clarity in terms of the choices that you're making, in terms of what you're putting out there. And it's a great bit of, we're using the word again, foundational work when they come to you and say, okay, this is what I figured out so far. And then you can help them get the clarity from there.
You don't have to have absolutely everything figured out. I always tell my clients that I need at least these 2 pieces. And the first piece is your core values or your brand values, those things that don't falter. No matter, 2 years, 5 years from now, those core values will kind of always be the same for you. And I love to know what those are because I like to build off of those. And then again, your future goals, because as long as I know what your foundation is and where you're headed, we can fill in the in-between. So that's all you really do need to get started.
That must sound so familiar because that's what I'm talking about all the time. And that's why I was delighted to talk to you about this, because I knew that you would bring a simplicity to this process that can seem a bit overwhelming. I mean, it's this big word and we know it's important and we talk about it. Mostly I say branding, and now I'm kind of learning to say brand foundation and branding. Mm-hmm. But, it can feel overwhelming, and it's not. As you said, it can be invigorating and empowering. I love that. Is there anything else you want to leave with us today about this topic?
Honestly, if there's anything that if you have deeper questions or want to reach out to me, I'm happy to oblige and answer any of your questions. I do offer free brand strategy calls just to uncover the items that are keeping you stuck. So you'll tell me where you're at, where you want to be, and we can uncover those pieces that are keeping you stuck. So at least you can take some actionable steps going forward. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure the links will be in the podcast notes, but at platusicdesign.com or at platusicdesign on social media and Instagram. I love Instagram, and there's loads of value there too. So happy to share that.
Definitely. If you are on Instagram, come play with us if you're not already, because her Instagram feed is fantastic. And yes, I will definitely have all the links to finding Maria in the show notes. So are you ready to have some fun with a rapid wrap up?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. Fill in the blanks for me, please. The first one is the song that always makes me dance is.
You're going to think I'm a bit kooky with this one, but it's actually House of Pain, Jump Around.
It is not at all kooky, and you will be delighted to know that you are not the first person to suggest that one on the podcast. It is awesome.
It's just one of those songs, like if I'm washing the dishes or driving in the car with the kids, it gets blasted and everybody is kind of hopping in place. So yep, that's that one.
Well, and what's fantastic is now we get to put that one on the Positively Living podcast playlist on Spotify, Volume 2. So it will be on there when your episode goes live. Awesome. Brilliant. Okay. Now, the quote or mantra that I share all the time is?
So for me, it would have to be, if you have passion, it's always evident in your work. I truly believe that your passion shows up through everything you do and that you put out there via energy or physical form. It's definitely present in everything you do.
Love that. All right. How about a resource, book, or app that makes my life easier is?
You're going to laugh at this one. It's definitely my go-to app is Trello.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I could have called it.
I am obsessed over Trello. I know we've obsessed over it together, but literally my life is on there. And Trello can never go down. That's all I know, because it basically houses, I use it for social media content creation. I use it for all my client work. I create a Trello board when I reveal all the logo files to them. So it's one beautiful place so you can actually see them. So it's not in a Dropbox with no visuals, where this is, you can actually see them. So I definitely would say Trello.
Yeah. And I will add that it's very popular for those who are visual, just like Maria described. You can see what it is that you are working with and posting and so forth. And she did a really cool post on Instagram showing how she does the social media. It was a quick video with the scroll of her setup. And I thought that was really fascinating. So, okay, last but definitely not least, what or whom are you grateful for today, Maria?
I am grateful for you, actually, because this has been a wonderful conversation. And I love being guest host on podcasts, but we've been connecting so well lately. And I just want to say thank you so much for this. I truly appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, it's my pleasure. And I am most certainly grateful for you and all you brought to the table today and always. So I want to thank you, Maria, for shining your light in this world and for sharing it with us.
Thank you, Lisa. This has been fantastic.
Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and limited, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback, questions, or want to schedule a chat, head to positivelyproductive.com/connect. And if you are looking for any of the resources referenced on the podcast, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.